Hi, Marco, my Germany
Oh,
friend. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. In those crazy times. I hope you're fine too.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I'm just, out of my morning reading of newspapers, and I saw that even in Germany, you guys are talking about the lockdown. Same here in Italy. So,
Yes, practically next Monday, 2nd of November, we're going to have a so-called light lockdown, but it's a lockdown, so uh, we have to see how to manage this, and the companies have to see how to get through this. Second one this year is a hard time.
I was visiting a customer yesterday, and he was talking to me about. He's in the automotive business, and he was talking to me about how hard it is to plan the next days and the next weeks, considering the possibilities that somewhere their supply chain are going to stop, and they may have a major problem in giving continuity to their assembly lines. And so it seems that now, more than before in the past, we have a good understanding of how important is supply chain management and having good visibility and good integration and coordination about among the different nodes of the network. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently finished my last automotive project, and practically many automotive suppliers are down in sales volume, are down by 30-40%. And every day they get different informations. They get information from the big customers, like Volkswagen is going to say, then we're going to start one line in this plant, two lines in the other plant, and the next day they get a different information. So they have a very they don't have a clear view of what is going to happen in the next weeks and months, uh, especially because lots of them are supplying customers not only in one country but in several European or more internationally in several European countries. So you maybe have some information from your customer in Spain, another information from the same customer in Germany or in Italy. So quite different, very difficult situation for them, and the, the companies have to find a way in the process to cope with that. And what I think is very important in this scenario is that different functions in the company have to work as close together as they can, and even more closer than they did before.
I agree with you, and I believe that this willingness to keep collaborating and collaborate more, and don't give up right now in a moment in which there is a big mess outside, and so you may have the temptation to stop planning and start just firefighting, is one of the major issue they may, or one of the major mistake they may do. So I mean, you in your background, you have worked a lot with CFOs and finance function. Do you have any recommendation or any idea about that, considering your background and your financial perspective on supply chains?
Yeah, it's practically the CFOs of company now have as before, but now even more. They have a big need to look on the cash flow side on the business. So they need liquid money. They need financial space for financial movement. But the point is that the CEO, the CFO himself, does know the financial needs of the company, but he doesn't have the leverage, for example, to reduce the net working capital. Somebody else has the leverage to do that, and that's the supply chain manager. So instead of saying one guy saying, okay, we need to reduce capital employed and throwing it over the wall to the next department and see what happens there, they have to work very, very closely together. Even if they did that before, they have to do that closer now, because one guy knows the financial playing field and the other guy knows the operations playing field. But only together they can take the right decision for the company's future.
I
And cash
agree
is
with
king
you.
now,
I
obviously.
agree with you, and I believe that actually, I mean, finance and supply chain, there are two functions that are they have in common that probably they are the only two functions in an organization that have a complete end-to-end understanding and visibility of what's happening in the organization, because for different reasons they have to manage the whole process and they cannot approach it piece by piece. So I agree with you that probably we have to understand, and they probably already know very well, that they should really work together, hands in hands, in order to make sure that they can take consistent decisions on a financial perspective and an operational perspective, making sure that on the operation side, you make choices that will be sustainable from a financial perspective and the other way around.
Absolutely. But it's not enough to say that. They need a process for that. They need a process, because otherwise that remains just a declaration that won't bring you anywhere. So you have a lot of experience in introducing those kind of processes, which we call sales and operation planning, into companies. I think that's the most important thing now, to have a sales and operation planning process that works.
Well, Marco, yeah, I agree 100% with you. And actually, in my experience, sales and operations planning has always been one of the key hammers to break down silos among functions and to make sure that we have a good alignment about not only strategical plans, but also technical plans for the coming weeks that are taken by, considering the requirements, the needs, and the targets of different functions, that together they work with the best information they have to make sure that they are going to move all together in the same direction in the same weeks. Sales and operations planning is crucial in this perspective, and is probably one of the best options that I believe all organizations have to make sure that they can take decision so they can really implement their strategies in a way that is involving all functions together.
Absolutely. I think probably if you're talking to your customers now, where maybe you introduced sales and operation plannings some time ago, what is the feedback they give you now in this situation of crisis?
Well, I have really a real case that is coming from the field. So, as frequently happens, a CFO of one of my customers asked me a couple of years ago to help him in implementing sales and operations planning in his own organization. We are talking about a mid-sized business here in Italy, so not a large organization, but an organization that has a global footprint, and that at that time was very good in planning short term, but had no sales and operations planning in place. So has no tools to make sure that sales, operations, and finance, they work together on a monthly basis, systematically looking into the future and trying to understand what are the best options that they have in order to face demand plans, forecasts, and opportunities the market was offering to them. Yes. So at that time, there was no coronavirus in the horizon. So there were only, and this is a company with very good performances, very good financial performances, but they were looking at this, at sales and operations planning as an opportunity. Today, they're saying every day, thank you to us in supporting them in implementing sales and operations planning, because without sales and operations planning, facing the coronavirus and the issue would have been much, much harder. So I'm very, proud to say that I've been supported, like many others that work in sales and operations planning. I've supported an organization to have a better leverage and a better process to face the hard times that we are living today. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think one of the messages that we should give is that a monthly reporting is not enough. If you think you're okay with the monthly reporting, then that's not the case. What you need is an integrated decision-making process which involves all the functions, and that's sales and operation planning. So I think we can agree that for other companies that don't have something like sales and operation planning as an integrated decision-making process, they need to implement that.
Yeah, I believe that, I mean, every company should have a sales and operations planning in process and in place. And even companies that actually have a sales and operations planning, they should really carefully check if the maturity of their sales and operations planning is at the right level, considering the current challenges that we are facing. So if sales and operations planning is not part of your routine, it should start to be part of your routine. If it is part already of your routine, you should pay attention that it's not just a reporting, it's not just a way to look very, very short term, but it's a way to take, as you said, an integrated set of decisions. So having around the same table sales people, operations people, HR people that now are crucial, because you need to make a decision on how many headcounts you may need or you may not need in the coming weeks. And then if people work together with the existing level of information and also with the potential, I mean, the scenarios that may happen and that are different depending on what's going to happen. So I also believe that in periods in which there is a big mess around, you should not, you should keep planning what you can plan. And you should keep considering alternatives, because you know that plans can be wrong, but the process of planning cannot be wrong. Has to happen.
Do you think, I mean, that brings us to the question if companies should increase the frequency of their planning cycles and the frequency in which they carry out the sales and operation process. And usually in regular times, if you have a process, sales and operation planning in place, you do that once a month, okay?
Yeah.
So the cycle goes once a month. What do you think? Should companies increase the frequency right now if they have a sales and operation planning?
So first of all, I want to reinforce the idea that 1 month is minimum. So companies that do not have a monthly routine for sales and operations planning, they should for sure go toward a monthly process, because I mean, reality changes so fast that having it less frequently than on a monthly basis is really not enough. It's really
absolutely not agree.
And even not only the best practice, but also the literature. If you read the book of the fathers of sales and operations planning, like Tom Wallace, for example, he suggests the possibility to have a kind of small SNOP cycle that happens during the month if you have to face a challenging situation, if there is something new that is jumping in. So in extraordinary times, you can have extraordinary processes that help you to rework and review more frequently what you plan to do. What is important to me is to find a good balance between, on one side, reacting the external conditions, and on the other side, provide a kind of stability to your environment to prevent nervousness in planning and to switch from, I mean, to fall again in the risk to be firefighters rather than planners.
Yeah, that's a big temptation to abandon the process and just do firefighting because everybody's feeling so active and so good about it, but it brings you nowhere. So, but can we say that for sure it is a good idea to increase the frequency of the process? Maybe during the months doing a light version of the sales and operation process and doing the real one once a month. But it is a good idea to increase the frequency because those are challenging times and things change every day. So maybe only once a month is not enough.
I would recommend to review it, and I would recommend reviewing it. Also reinforces the importance of sales and operations planning. So sales and operations planning has to be part of the standard way of an organization to look at its future. Should be perceived as the cornerstone of the entire technical planning of the organization.
I agree. I agree.
If you reinforce it, if you make it more and more relevant and really a source for guidelines of your organization, it will be healthy and it will be worth. It's for sure time properly spent.
Absolutely. And it's the only way, and it's the best way we know to make supply chain management and financial side, CFOs and CHR all work together on a regular basis, with continuity and with good results.
Yeah, I think we're gonna talk more and more about that, Marco. It was an interesting conversation. So it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, and I hope to talk to you soon and have another conversation like this one.
We will. We certainly will, Paolo. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.